Thanos is one of the most interesting and most complex characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. After 7 years of hype, Thanos has made his official debut in Avengers Infinity War. My name is Marwan, and what I want to talk about today is the motivation of Thanos and his ideology.
Dread it. Run from it. Destiny still arrives.
Now, there will be no spoilers in this video. My focus is going to be on Thanos' plan and how that stands from a philosophical standpoint. It's not going to be about what happens in the movie. So any quote or clip that I show will be taken from interviews and trailers that have been shown prior to the release of the movie. Now, Thanos is one of the most powerful villains in the Marvel comics, and he made his first debut in the Marvel Cinematic Universe in the first Avengers movie in the after credit scene. So Thanos is actually the most hyped up Marvel villain yet, since he's been getting hyped up all the way back in 2012, with many of the Marvel movies having some sort of reference to the villain Thanos. Now, what is his plan? Thanos wants to bring stability and balance back to the universe. He believes that life has reached a point where it's unsustainable because of the finite resources available in the universe. So his goal is to wipe out half of the entire universe. What he believes is if you cut out half of life in the universe, you will increase the quality of life of those that remain, since there are more resources for everybody else. That's his objective. Now let's take a step back here and look at a very popular moral theory called utilitarianism. Utilitarians believe that the purpose of morality is to make life better by increasing the amount of good things in the world and decreasing the amount of bad things. Based on this definition of utilitarianism and looking at Thanos' plan of increasing the flourishing of life by wiping out half the universe, you could say that Thanos is more of an utilitarian. But doesn't that kind of make Thanos a bit materialistic? Because one could argue that Thanos is basically saying people's happiness is based on how comfortable they are and how much stuff they have access to. So the more stuff people have, the happier people will be. But I don't believe that Thanos actually cares about people having access to bigger houses and more luxurious stuff. I don't think that that's what he means by having more resources being accessible to everyone in the universe. He mentions going to bed hungry and scrounging for scraps and associates that with a planet on the brink of collapse. So in this case, Thanos is talking about exactly what he wants to prevent. A life of hunger, a life where even the most basic resources are not available. And here we can see that when Thanos talks about finite resources, he's not talking about fancy cars and bigger houses. He's actually talking about food and medication, the essentials that are required to live. So Thanos talks about how after he invaded one of the planets in the Marvel Universe and killed a significant amount of the population of that planet, the children now have full bellies and clear skies, associating that with a paradise and happiness. So in Thanos' point of view, a world where everyone is happy is directly connected to a world where everyone has access to essential resources like food and medication. So Thanos doesn't want to just kill a significant amount of the population just because he feels like it. He's actually already done that to one planet and it actually worked, so he does have a reference point. So in his mind, he's thinking, why wouldn't it work for the rest of the universe? Now, there is an utilitarian argument that could be made about predicting consequences. And the idea here is basically, if you have scientific evidence that can back up your viewpoint, you can actually be justified of your point of view. You can be justified because you have actual evidence that supports your viewpoint. To simplify, Thanos essentially here has evidence that supports his viewpoint. But does that mean that it's worth wiping out half the universe? Because the positive effect of wiping out half the universe will actually outweigh the negative effect? Well, here's the thing. What if nobody learns their lesson? There are two outcomes to Thanos' plan. One is actually good because that means that the universe learned their lesson to not overuse the resources that we have available. In that case, from a utilitarian perspective, Thanos' plan is actually good because despite wiping out half of life in the universe, in a long-term perspective, you are doing more good than bad. You are increasing the amount of good things such as more food and medication available to more people, and decreasing the amount of bad things such as poverty and hunger. But what if people don't learn their lesson and the universe goes back to overusing their resources? In this case, Thanos' plan is actually really bad because the cycle essentially has to continue where the entire universe is overusing its resources again, and Thanos essentially has to wipe out half the universe again. Because in this case, the universe will actually just end up doing the exact same thing that it was doing before, except with a different generation. So, from an utilitarian standpoint, the only way to actually know whether Thanos' plan is good or bad is to wait a few hundred or a few thousand years and see if people do end up going back to how they were and overuse their resources. And that's all I want to talk about today. Let me know what you think if Thanos was an actual person that existed that would keep us quote-unquote in check. And what would our world be like? Would we still overuse our resources and not care? Let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and share this video with a friend if you find it pretty interesting. And on that note, until next time.